Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. Some very interesting things to show you guys today, but before we start, I just want to give a special thanks to all of you who, after watching my most recent video, headed over to my new Patreon page that I set up and have just, it's been an outpouring of support and love, and I just want to say thank you. If you haven't watched my most recent video about YouTube censorship and how we're all panicking that our channels are going to be shut down, go and watch it. It's scary stuff, and so again, thanks to all of you. It really means a lot, and we're all going to stick together and fight through this censorship on YouTube. So having said that, there's a couple things that I want to show you guys and to talk about today. The first of which is something very strange that was recently discovered on the planet Mars, and it's kind of always just sat there in plain sight. So I was amazed that I hadn't seen this yet, or at least mentioned it on the channel. But what you're seeing here are a set of 4 volcanoes on planet Mars, the largest volcanoes. The most massive of all of them is called Olympus Mons. Many of you have probably heard of it, but I want you guys to notice, and you probably already have, the way in which these 4 volcanoes here, or alleged volcanoes, as NASA tells us, formulate a, near perfect triangular shape, where we have the largest of the volcanoes at the top, Olympus Mons, and then we have the other 3 volcanoes, which are called Arsia Mons, Tharsis Montes, and Ascraeus Mons. So, according to NASA, these are just normal, natural, large shield volcanoes, with the largest of the 4 you're seeing being this one at the point of the triangle here, Olympus Mons. This thing is so massive that it has a height of around 22 kilometers, or 13.6702 miles, so nearly 14 miles high this thing is. Or in other words, it's about 2.5 times as tall as Mount Everest's height above sea level. So it's massive, nearly 14 miles high. And Olympus Mons and these other alleged volcanoes have always been a topic of mystery and theory among other ufology channels. I've spoken about this before, but there is a growing group of people that believe that there was at one point in time an ancient war wherein which some very powerful direct energy weapons, think of something like a weapon that shoots lightning bolts out of it, was used on planet Mars, and that created these devastating scars across the surface of Mars, the largest of which being Valles Marineris. Now, for many of you new to that particular theory, you may say, hey, these are just volcanoes. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. But there's a really great YouTube video that goes into detail and actually shows examples of what it is like when a lightning bolt, or on a smaller scale, an electric current, is blasted onto a sandy surface like Mars, and the scarring that it creates looks identical to what these ancient volcanoes look like on Mars. So I'll post a link to that video down in the video description. It's mind-blowing, and it really has gotten me wondering, could all these scars and these alleged volcanoes really be remnants of a super powerful weapon that was used to destroy the planet millions of years ago? So be sure to check that video out. But again, the main point of this is just this perfect triangle. It's right there. I've never put 2 and 2 together and saw it, but a viewer emailed this to me. And yeah, I just wanted to show you guys. I don't really have a theory as to why these are in a triangular formation. It just may be a normal freak occurrence, a coincidence. But nonetheless, it does look really, really perfect. if it did turn out to be a coincidence. So maybe you guys can let me know what you think about it down in the comments. All right, so very mysterious. And moving on, I have some new UFO footage that I want to show you that was captured in the night skies over Switzerland recently of something in the skies, or multiple objects that would seem to be almost meeting with each other or doing something. I don't know. It's really strange. So go ahead and check this out and we'll talk more in just a second. Alright, so what you just saw was actually an enhanced version of the original where I just kind of upped the brightness a little bit to try to bring these things out more. It didn't work very well, but what you're seeing here is the original, which has less pixelation, but of course it was shot at night, and most of the phones today, even the best ones, they just take really shitty nighttime videos. And so we can see the cityscape, the skyline down below. And this was captured in a town in Switzerland called Interlaken, or Interlaken, which is located in central Switzerland, on a narrow stretch of valley between Lake Thun and Lake Brienz. So it's a country town, very hilly, beautiful, and the viewer who sent this over basically said that they had just seen something strange in the sky that they couldn't explain, and they wanted to share it. It was recorded on this small Switzerland town on March 15th, so just a few weeks ago, and the viewer, who goes by the name of Jessica, believed that there were at least 2 objects here in the sky. And as you're seeing here, you know, we have something that looks to be reflecting light or is emanating light. At times and at the beginning, it looks like one craft, and you can kind of see what looks like a disc shape at one point in time, where you kind of see this rim that's wrapping around it, and it kind of looks like a circular disc shape. But this thing, whatever it is, it keeps fading out, and then we see this second source of light appear off to the right, and finally at the end, the two things look to connect with each other before finally vanishing. And so the things disappear, and yeah, that's where we are. So I'm asking anyone, any viewers from Switzerland, if you've seen something similar, or if any of you guys have seen anything similar, send me an email or leave it down in the comments. I'm going to try to figure out more about this. Yeah, this kind of connects to what I want to talk about lastly in today's video, which is a new report published by a Canadian news agency called CTV News. And the article goes on to talk about the massive increase in UFO sightings over the past year that have been reported in central Ontario and around Canada. And you're seeing the report here, and I'll read you a little snippet of this here. It's very interesting. But it goes to talk about 25 strange objects that were seen across various counties throughout Canada, according to a 2016 Canadian UFO survey. In total, there were 1,131 sightings of unidentified flying objects reported across Canada in total, and those were the ones that were reported. For instance, on March 13th, 2016, someone reported seeing two circular crafts signaling to each other in Parry Sound. On April 27th, 2016, in Alliston, Canada, a report of a gray oval-shaped object following a plane was seen before finally disappearing. Another person reported seeing strange lights prior to last year's ice storm and mass power outage that occurred in Canada. And for the first time in 28 years, this study has been conducted, and out of all of these UFO sightings, the article claims that only 4% of these recorded sightings could not be explained. So out of all of these sightings, apparently almost all of them were found out to be natural or drones or, just apparently something that doesn't have to do with aliens or anything like that. However, 4% of these sightings remained unexplainable. Which is very similar to other sightings. You've all heard of Project Blue Book, where there was a large percentage of sightings that did remain unexplained. And so the article goes on to break down all of the most popular shapes and types of UFOs that were reported, and it lists them according to their percentages and popularity. So, for instance, a simple source of light in the sky accounted for 57% of all of the UFO sightings in Canada. So just a simple light in the sky. Now, other shapes that were reported were things like triangles, which came in at 4%, ball shapes, which came in at 9%, cigar shapes, which came in at 3%, and fireballs, which came in at 5%. And it finally ends off with the classic flying saucer shape being reported only about 48 times, which is still, that's still a lot. And as for what the study calls unknowns, or basically the cases that they could not explain, they included such sightings as a, quote, gigantic disc-shaped object with searchlights that was seen moving over the mountains in North Vancouver. Also cited and unexplained was the boomerang-shaped cluster of stars that moved across the sky near St. Thomas, Ontario. Now, there was also a commercial airplane over Toronto that had a near miss with an object while on a routine flight on November 14th of 2016. The flight crew noticed an object directly ahead of their flight path, and the craft appeared to be solid, approximately 5 to 8 feet in diameter, and shaped like an upright donut or inner tube, as reported by the airline pilots. The cabin crew members of the airplane received minor injuries when evasive action was taken, and it's reported that the object was not likely a balloon and was at first suggested to be a drone before it was noted that unfortunately drones could not fly at the altitude and distance that this aircraft was at when it came into contact with this UFO. The study then spoke about some more of the stranger cases that it had investigated, including a man in Cornwall who reported a, quote, thin, 6-foot-tall, long-fingered alien in a black suit that spoke to him in his bedroom before leaving by walking through the wall. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting article, and it again goes to show that these sightings, these interactions, these encounters are ramping up, and it would appear that Canada is quickly becoming a hotbed for strange activity. And, that may be due to a lot of the strange, isolated wilderness up there, where, a lot of this stuff has occurred. And so I will link to this down in the video description. And if you haven't seen it, the footage that I featured in yesterday's video of the night vision UFO footage, that was also captured over Canada. So if you haven't seen that, do check it out. And of course, big thanks to the viewers who continue to send in their footage, their stories, and to all of you for sticking with the channel and continuing to support us as we continue to be targeted and censored and dragged through the mud for the stuff that we talk about. So let me know what you guys think about everything we've spoken about today. And as always, share, like, and subscribe, and I will see you all back with more strangeness in just a bit.